Good morning everybody, and a very warm welcome to the Sunrise Safari. We are here at andBeyond in Ngala, and today behind the steering wheel is me, Eric, and behind the camera is Owen. And we are on our way actually to go and have a look at that waterhole where Nikki had that fascinating sighting of that hyena that had died. We thought it would be such a good opportunity to go past there and just see what has happened over the last 12 hours. If the carcass is still there, if it's not. And we just saw the silhouette of this beautiful bird, and we just thought we might quickly come and have a look. And just look at how brown it is, with quite a large head, a little bit of a paler beak. And if you look, you might just be able to see the very tips of the wings sticking below the branch. Because it's a juvenile, so it still hasn't gotten to its adult plumage yet, and I'm sure it would have just spent the whole night resting in a spot like this. But a bird like this, especially if there's a carcass around, is one of the first birds that we look for. If it's perched up in a tree, we come down and have a look around what's at the base of the tree to see if it might have seen anything. And just a reminder, the first 45 minutes is dedicated to the kids, and so yes, it's dedicated to the kids, so please, everyone, send through all of your questions at kidsquestions at wildearth.tv. I think I got that right, but the strip will come below at the bottom of the screen there, so you'll be able to just send through all of your questions, and for the first 45 minutes we will only be answering the kids' questions. It's a really beautiful tree, and most of the leaves on the tree, except for the very extreme parts on the right, have completely gone. So it's very much in the middle of the winter now, or at least the beginning of the winter. We've still got another 2 or 3 months of coldness coming our way, and I think that's why this bird, you might see it's just a little bit ruffled up, so just trying to catch a little bit of heat before it starts flying around. There we go. This is very cool. Let's see if you can flap. It's still got quite a long tail. Testing Owen's skills out in the early morning. So Carl, yeah, I definitely think this bird was quite cold, and that's why it was ruffled up. And I'm actually quite surprised that it flew so early on in the morning. Usually these raptors rely on the hotter parts of the morning to start flying. And so, Carl, there's these things called thermals, which are essentially basically hot air rising from the ground. And as the heat rises, it creates lift. And so these big birds of prey will start circling around these thermals, and they'll be able to fly without having to flap their wings. So it's a nice, easy way to conserve energy, so they can save that for when they might need to catch something, or if they might need to fight another bird for something to eat. And this bird has flown, or flown, whichever one it is, across that way, and that's heading straight towards the waterhole where that hyena carcass is. So I think it might be quite a good option for us to go and pop our heads into there. What have you got there? Another bird.
See the hustling behind it.
Oh, there we go. Oh, it's a hornbill. Very cool. And this tree's got lots of little nooks and crevices in it, so I'm sure it might have even been sitting on a little nest in the tree itself, and maybe it's also just starting to move around for the day. And there it flies off. So now that it's flown, I think what we'll do is drive towards that waterhole. It's not going to take us too long to get there, and hopefully that hyena carcass might still be around. So whilst we're driving across towards this big waterhole, we'll be sending you back to my old stomping ground, to one of my very good friends, Clive, and see what he's up to for the morning.
Morning. Thank you, Eric. I hope everyone is having a fantastic morning or afternoon wherever you are in the world. For the kids, please remember to send through your questions. We'd love to hear from you. For now, our plan this morning is to head up to the top of these mountains up on our left-hand side. Whoa, sorry about the bump. And see if we can find those lions that we were with yesterday afternoon. Maybe those small cubs. We had some tracks of a lioness a little bit behind us. But those cubs, because they're so small, probably haven't moved too far. So we're hoping they're still somewhere up here. By the way, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Clive, and this morning behind the camera we have Marcel. So we left about 30 minutes ago this morning, and we did a big loop around just looking for any tracks of these lions possibly moving last night, and we haven't seen any yet. Oh wow, I'm just going to stop quickly. If you look over to the horizon there, you can just see a burning red color, and that's the sun just coming through almost a little hole in the clouds there. So that exact direction and where those clouds are is actually over the ocean. Where we are on andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve is about 30 or 40 kilometers away from the ocean. And that's where those clouds are. This is a nice steep, bumpy road going up the mountain. But there's a little, almost... Morning, Dev. Right here at the moment, it is 6:39. So 20 to 7 in the morning. Still nice and early, but in winter the sun, as you can see, rises quite late. In summer, the sun is already up by about 5 o'clock in the morning. It's a really beautiful morning though, nice colors in the clouds. So with these lions being nocturnal, I'm hoping the mothers, the lionesses of these cubs, possibly moved away from where they were last night and have come down into these beautiful open plains behind us to hunt. There were a lot of animals down in these plains, so I'm hoping they've maybe gone down to hunt, although we haven't seen any tracks. So for now, before we get to the top, we're going to send you across to Steve and see what he's managed to find this morning.
Good morning, and welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve. My name is Steve, joined by BK. We are very excited to have you with us. Now, everybody, last night, you might have recalled us leaving, but moving towards our camp. She actually moved straight through our camp, and then we heard bushbuck start alarm calling. And Tristan and I both think that she managed to kill one, and then hyenas stole it. I'm currently... Well, I have been tracking a hyena drag mark. Now, hyenas, if they steal food, they can drag it quite far, especially if it's the matriarch. The matriarch could drag it all the way back to the den. So the drag mark with many hyena tracks have come all the way through quarantine from our camp, and I've lost them going into the block there, but the general direction is straight down to the hyena den at the bottom of the hill. So we're going to go have a look there, see what's happened, but it's a very good chance that Ribbon herself personally has stolen potentially some meat that Tlalamba managed to find for herself and is taking into the den. The reason why I say only the matriarch does that is because the matriarch's cubs are more dominant than that of the others in the clan. And if a less dominant one brings meat back to the den, well, the meat gets given up to the cubs, so they wouldn't bring it back for someone else's cubs. Hyenas are very selfish, but Mum would definitely bring it back. Okay, seems like we're having a few technical issues. Let's send you over to Eric, who's by the water.
And so we've just come to exactly where that hyena carcass that Nikki found last night was, and we can't find it, but we do see another hyena here. So Owen will zoom in right there. We go. And so we just thought we would watch this one and see where it takes us. I mean, it's been a long time since that hyena carcass was seen, pretty much exactly 12 hours ago. And so a lot could have happened. I mean, jackals could have come and fed on it. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if hyenas were the main ones to come and finish off the carcass. And so I've used my binoculars and tried to scan on this hyena to see if there's any full belly. It does look like it's quite a full belly. You can see it's sniffing around quite a lot. There is quite a big stench of hyena in this area. So I don't know whether that's a combination of the decaying meat, or if it's just a lot of hyena activity that has gone on down here. And for those of you who weren't watching last night, there was a hyena carcass, a dead hyena that was seen here by Nicky. He saw vultures as he came to this waterhole. He came to investigate what the vultures were feeding on, and it turned out to be what looked like a fully grown hyena. And not last night, the night before, the Pride of Lions was around this area. So we suspect, I mean, we can't really tell for now, but we suspect that hyena could potentially have been killed by lions. What do you see there, Owen? Do you think you see the carcass? Yeah. I mean, so that hyena was lying right out in the open. And so what could have happened is maybe one of these hyenas picked it up and dragged it into the bushes. And one of the main reasons why they try and hide it is to prevent the vultures from seeing it. As soon as those thermals start rising, those vultures start flying around. And as soon as they see carcasses that they think that they might stand a chance to get some meat and some food on, they'll basically land in the nearing trees and they'll drop down. And so that's just like a big signal to any predator in the area that there's some food on the ground. And you'll see hyenas coming to investigate, maybe even lions that are close by might watch those vultures and come and sniff in. So a way of hiding it from the vultures is to drag it into the dense foliage and try and prevent them from seeing it from above. That hyena has moved off, so maybe we can just spend some time looking at this waterhole. It is a beautiful time of day. It's still, there's a beautiful reflection. The sun is threatening to break away the clouds, and we do have some hippos in this waterhole who are hiding from us. Oh, they're in the middle of the waterhole there on the right. So just past that dead tree with the nest in there, you can see the wake. There's one looking straight at us, and then there's another one that's swimming now a bit further to the left. And just like the hyena, they also are just basically ending their activity for the day. Hattie, you asked a question that if it's true that hippos can't swim. And can you see a hippo now at the moment? Or now you can, but watch it. It will disappear. It's just about a call, so listen. Quite a half-hearted attempt at a call there. But Hattie, you see, like a lot of the time those hippos will completely disappear. And the reason being is that they actually can't swim. So they're a very big bone, quite heavy animal, which means that they sink. And so the way that they move around a lot of the time is they sink to the bottom of the water hole, and then they walk along it. And so you might see them disappear, then they'll come up and they almost jump up and take a breath, and then they sink back down. And so they tend to, especially throughout the night, they'll be out around feeding on grass, and then they come back into the water, and then during the day they tend to settle down, and so they move into the shallower parts of the water where they don't have to actively worry about jumping up to take a breath. So they can just get into the shallow parts, keep their head above the water, and breathe like that. But now look, they're completely gone. You can't see anyone doing breaststroke or backstroke, so they definitely can't swim. This one's actually becoming quite curious. It looks like it's coming towards us. Maybe just checking to see what's going on. And I mean, it would have left the waterhole last night, and I'm sure it would have an idea that something happened around here. Probably might have even come to investigate the carcass. This one, getting quite a nice view of this one here. There's 3 of them in tow, coming to just get a closer look at us. There's this one, and now look at the size difference. I think this one that we haven't shot, just look at how much bigger. You can just see how broad that neck is and how big the face is. So this one is the male. Nice comparison there to see all of them. Ben, you've asked if hippos sweat pink. And it might appear like that, especially when the conditions are very, very dry. But in actual fact, what happens is that skin will dehydrate and crack. And as it cracks, there is moisture that comes out. I've actually forgotten the name of it, Ben. And what I'll do is just quickly have a look and a read up about it, and then I'll tell you exactly what it is. One of those things that just completely slipped my mind for the time being, but I'm sure as soon as I start reading about it again, it will all bring back memories. Really nice views. We don't get to see these hippos too often this well, because this waterhole is so big. But they just walk straight up towards us to have a look to see what we're up to. I'm sure they'll resume their day of resting very soon. This cloud cover is really helping trap some of the heat in it. It's usually much colder than it is now. I think this cloud is just trapping that warm layer of air, and it's not really escaping, but it seems like the sun is winning the battle this morning. We've got lots of blue patches of sky coming through. Yeah, so whilst we watch these hippos and see if we can maybe find the remainder of the hyena carcass, what I'll do is send you across to Djuma, and Tristan is waiting to say good morning with a nice big herd of elephants.
Indeed, it is a good morning, and the reason it's a good morning is because we've already found elephants, and there's lots of promise in the air because we've been busy this morning with lots and lots of tracks already. Oh, good morning to you too. You heard her ears flapping. My name's Tristan, as Eric mentioned, and on camera I've got David. Hello. Morning, David. And so basically we were driving along vertical axis because we were looking for a mating pair of leopards. They were heard last night, and we found their tracks pretty quickly this morning. Unfortunately, it seems that the hyenas robbed them of a carcass and took it away. And they've then now walked, and they're just moving straight kind of in a northwesterly direction. So we're trying to follow the tracks, but these elephants have kind of gotten in our way a little bit, which is not the worst problem to have. The only thing that
that means that it makes it difficult. So I'm hoping that I'll get up just on the other side after we kind of pass, because I obviously can't get out of the vehicle in this area to look, otherwise the elephants might squash me, and I don't want to be squashed by elephants, so I'm going to try and get around them and see if I can pick up the track. But the interesting part about it is that I think it's a different male that's now with this female. I don't think it's the same male that we had the other day. Some of you may have been watching and thinking that we were, following Mulawati with trying to follow Shadulu. I think potentially that this is Hukumuri that is now joined with Shadulu. The size of the track looks different, and the direction of travel is deep into Hukumuri, Shadulu area. Now I hear a Franklin alarm calling up ahead. Hello, little one. You're very boisterous. Isn't that cute? That's very cute. Just trying to intimidate us a little bit. But there's definitely a Franklin that's squawking and alarm calling ahead of us. It could be for anything. There's obviously birds of prey that start flying at this time. The other day that I was here, I saw a rose eagle owl in this area. So it could be anything like that. But knowing that we've got some leopard tracks, and knowing that they're heading in this direction, it's possible that Franklin's been disturbed by a leopard. And so it's always worth, when you hear Franklin's alarm calling and you've got leopard tracks, just to check around and make sure. I'm hoping, though, that these tracks keep going the way that they're going, because even if they go further west from here, we can still drive there. If they cut off west or northwest is what we need, but if they cut off west from here, we're looking at maybe them going into Arathusa, which we don't want. We want them to go into Simambili, and so that's what we've got to hope for. Hello. Good morning. This little one is super, super cute. What are you doing? Just showing us how big you are and how strong you are. Now, Megan, you're asking how many elephants are left in the wild. Now, it's an ever-changing figure, I'm afraid, because of the persecution of elephants. So there's a lot of elephants that are illegally hunted, or poached is the right word to use for that. So the number is ever-changing, obviously. But as far as I remember, I might be wrong on this number, so don't quote me on it, but as far as I remember, it's about 300,000 elephants worldwide. Obviously, that splits into different groups, because you've got Asian and African elephants. But the number also is just so random in terms of what you actually get, because I've seen different censuses and different numbers that they have there, and the kind of difference between the estimates is huge. I think I read one the other day that says between 300 and 500,000. Now, 200,000 elephants is not a small number, so how there's that huge a difference, I'm not quite sure, but yeah, they say about 300,000 elephants, and so that's reduced a lot from what they used to be. The number is getting less and less every single day. In some areas, we're losing an elephant every 15 minutes. So you can imagine today, keep your watch, and maybe you can try this just to see how serious a problem this is put your alarm on your phone or on your watch or whatever you want to do for every 15 minutes. And when that alarm goes off, that's an elephant. And see how disturbing that is through the course of the day. You'll notice that it happens far quicker than you would want to imagine, and it's an incredibly sad thing to remind you of just how much is going on at the moment. So, like I say, if you had to set your alarm, you'll be shocked at how often that alarm goes off every time during the course of the day, and that's the problem that we have at the moment. The one good thing is that there are areas that are protecting elephants really, really well at the moment, and there is strongholds for them, and those areas are being expanded all the time. There's a number of really incredible organizations that are trying to kind of expand the range. One of them is African Parks. They've just taken over a huge part of Central African Republic that's going to form a really nice area for elephants. It's going to be a stronghold, much like some of the other parks they have in the sort of central parts or western parts of Africa. They've done some stuff in Chad. There's all these range expansions that are starting to happen, and people starting to look after elephants in those areas. But it's a constant battle against those that want their tusks, and so we have to kind of go to quite stringent measures to be able to look after elephants, that's for sure. Beautiful though, isn't it, this morning, just seeing these guys so relaxed. And that's one nice thing about the area that we're in, is that the way that elephants have been protected in these areas means that they have gotten to the point where they are not hugely fearful of us in a vehicle. And that's how we can sit as close as we are to these elephants at the moment, and you can see they're not paying any attention. The mothers are not worried about their babies walking past us. They're just feeding and happy. This is how elephants are when they feel like they're not threatened. If these elephants were in areas where they're threatened by people often, you'll find that they're going to be a lot more nervous. They're not going to sit nice and close, and they're going to try and hide in thickets all the time. And if they see you coming, they're either going to be very aggressive, or they're going to try and run away from you. So it's really amazing to see how, if we just treat them with respect, then generally they're very respectful to us. So that's the thing. All right, we're going to carry on, because I just want to try and catch up with these leopards as much as possible. They've got a 12-hour head start basically on us, which is a long time. So we're going to try and see if we can actually just work out where they've gone and whether or not they've come up this way. If they haven't, we're going to do a little loop around and see if we can find their tracks coming out on the other side of these guys. So Jasmine, who's 12 years old, you're asking about elephants and when they leave their families and what time of year would an elephant leave its mom. So Jasmine, it's not quite how it works. Yes, some elephants will leave their mom, but it's mostly the boys that leave. So the boy elephants are chased out by the herd, and that's not at any time of the year. It doesn't matter, when it is. There's not a time of day or time of year when that will happen. It will just be when they reach a certain age. So when they are 12 to 15 years old, then they start to come into a condition where their testosterone starts to go up and they become a little bit of a handful, and the females will start pushing them out from there. Then you'll find the young girls in the herd, they are actually just part of the herd then. So they stay with their mothers throughout their life. So they don't actually leave their herd. So they'll always be there. So it's just the boys really, and there's no specific time of the day or specific time period. It's just within that kind of time frame of 12 to 15 years, so that 3-year period, that they generally are slowly started to be pushed out by the herd. And you'll often find when they get that happening to them that they join with other males and they form these little male groups. Where Taylor is up in Pridelands, she will see a lot of really nice groups of males together, sometimes 15, 16 males together, and they almost form their own little herd in order to basically feel that comfort of the herd once more, because it's a very confusing time for a young boy to all of a sudden be chased out by his mom. Alright, so I'm going to just keep going. I don't see any tracks coming out this side, but I know if it is the two leopards, I think it is, that they should have cut through and come across and should pop out a little bit further ahead of me. No tracks here, bro. But what I thought is I'd rather just jump ahead and check the bound.
Welcome back, everyone. Sorry about the technical issues there, but as you can see, we up in the mountains just like we were hoping for. These lions have come out. They are moving around slowly. Can you still see them there, Marcel? Okay, I just want to move the vehicle back about a meter or two. They keep moving around on these rocks. Oh, wait. They keep moving around on these rocks. But I'm sure you can see there those tiny little cubs. These are the same ones we saw last night. And this is part of a pride called the Mountain Pride. Morning, Sophie from Singapore. Welcome and thank you for watching. These little cubs, there are 5 of them. I think we can only see about 2 of them for now, but they're all running around the rocks. They are in the region of about maximum 3 months old, possibly even just less than that. They're still very, very small. And as you can see, big, like fluffy ears. So they're still very, very young. And it's only last night was the 2nd time I'd seen them, and this is now the 3rd time I've seen these little cubs. So they're still very, very young. I can't see where the adults have gone, the lionesses. See, can you see them lying on the rock there, Marcel? Can you? Have you got a view? Okay. I can move back a bit if you want. Let me just go back about a meter or so. Okay, there we go. So we've got a perfect view of these little lions on the tree, on the rock now. Okay, so that lioness that you can see on the right-hand side is the younger of the 2. There's 2 mothers here. And then the 2 little cubs next to her must be hers. Wow, this is so special to see. Where these cubs were born is actually about maybe 2 kilometers away from here. But since about 3 weeks ago, the lionesses seem to have moved the cubs up on top of this mountain where they are quite well hidden and safe when the females go off hunting. Up in these rocks there's lots of little crevices and holes in the rocks, and also quite a lot of trees, as you can see. So there's lots of hiding places for them. Hello, Jasmine. That is a very good question. Which animal sleeps the latest out here where we are? And there's something like, I suppose this time of the year there's a lot of reptiles that will hibernate and sleep almost the whole of the winter because of the cold. But out of the big animals that we see, probably rhinos, especially on cold and slightly windy mornings like this one. You'll often see rhinos lying in lots of trees where they're a bit covered, and they'll sometimes rest there until the sun comes up late in the morning at maybe 9 o'clock or so in the morning, and it starts warming up. So out of the bigger animals, probably rhinos. That's a really interesting question though. And speaking of sleeping animals, we're going to link across to Steve, who's got a sleeping hyena.
Well, welcome back to Djuma, boys and girls, and everybody else. We've found the Djuma den. This is where the hyenas have their babies, and this one with her bottom inside the hole, I think it's Ribbon. She was the matriarch. And before I spoke to you saying there were tracks of many hyenas dragging something, and we followed the drag mark all the way here. Hyenas have the ability to drag pretty heavy weights around with them, but as I said before, it's only the matriarch, or also known as the queen, who's in charge of everybody at this clan, who will bring food back to her babies. And I'm thinking right now, although we can't see it, the way she's lying, Her two babies are busy suckling right now on her tummy inside the hole where it's nice and safe. There are two other hyenas around, but they're very hard to see at the moment. Their camouflage is very, very good. But there's no sign of the meat that was dragged here. It would have been made very short work of. Hyenas can eat things very quickly, bones and fur and everything. There we go. Isn't she pretty? And there we go. Oh, there's a little cub popped up at the back there. She's trying to get out now. Ribbon, come and show us one of your cubs, please. There it is, definitely Ribbon. Tell by that ear. Oh, come on, Ribbon. Who's in the hard work? You feel like that when you get out of bed sometimes, don't you? She's well and truly stuck in that hole. Oh, she's either got a very stiff leg or she's been injured. Sometimes, you know, when you sleep on your leg, you get that weird feeling. Oh, what are you doing? Oh, she looks like she's in a whole world of pain. Oh, there we go. Left, BK, left. Hello. Oh, Ribbon, you fat thing, you're in the way now. Now the cubs, hyena cubs are very, very inquisitive, very curious. I've no doubt that, there we go, it's coming. That they will come out. I believe there's two. Hyenas only ever have a maximum of 2 cubs, which they then keep in the hole, these little den sites that they utilize. It's there, it's trying to come, it wants to come. Oh, there it is. Hello, little one. Oh, it still wants some milk. Now, kids, we're still providing lots of entertainment for you, so please, if you have any questions, send them through to Kids Questions at WildEarth.tv. Oh, little guy. Keep quiet and let you hear them making noises. There's 2 of them. Another hyena, you see how they respond? The other one as well now. Oh, flat. Chelsea 13, you want to know what's more capable of survival, lion cub or hyena cub? Well, you see she's busy pasting there. That was a classic example of territorial marking that hyenas do. But hyenas and wild dogs have their babies in holes like this one. And the babies have got claws so they can dig deeper into the den and actually find little hideaways which keep them safe. Lions, leopards and cheetah, they just have their cubs in a little thicket. So they're very exposed and very vulnerable. It's a very difficult time first few months of being a lion, leopard or cheetah cub. But in saying that, hyenas, cubs that stray too far away from that hole, you saw how quickly they ran into that hole when this one hyena started coming. It's a very important survival strategy. You do every now and again see the hyena getting caught, little cubs trying to get to the hole and getting caught by a predator. Here comes another hyena at the back there, BK. This is the hub of activity, and it's so nice to have another Djuma den on the property because all the hyenas come here, and this is where you can tell who's in charge. Let's see what happens with these three. Is a society, the queen at the top with her cubs, and below an order of ranked females, right at the bottom, the boys. Okay, very good. Well, sometimes hyenas get the wrong end of the stick, as you're going to see over at Ngala, where they have a dead hyena.
Welcome back, everyone. We did manage to find this hyena carcass by looking for the other one we saw a bit earlier, and we'll have a quick view of it. It's not the most pleasant sight in the morning. You can see a lot of the skin has been removed already. There's that one at the back. It doesn't look like actual chunks have been made out of it. Let's see what happens. It's walking over here. And so, I mean, hyenas are very, very territorial, and there's a number of things that could have happened. It could have been caught up in a territorial battle between a few hyenas. It could have been killed by those lions. I think because those lions were around here literally 2 nights ago, it was found yesterday, that's a pretty good chance that maybe those lions managed to kill it. But we were talking about a few different scavengers and what might feed on this hyena. We mentioned other hyenas, but one of the biggest culprits, or one of the ones that will utilize the carcass the most, are vultures, and we've got quite a lot of them up in this dead tree ahead of us. And I mean, there's, how many are there? There's about 5. There's 8 of them altogether. And look at the size difference. That one on the top right-hand side of the screen there, we're getting a good zoom in. Look at the thickness of the bill. That one is a leopard-faced vulture, and that's the one that you might have seen last night that was initially opening up the carcass. It's got a bill strong enough to be able to open it, and then the rest of them will just take advantage of that leopard face. We've got the rest of them are all white faced, and then we've got one other species on the extreme right hand side that's not really showing itself. Oh no, they're all white backed. Sorry, I thought I saw a hooded vulture there. Yeah, so I just thought it would. No, it's not. It looked like it was a hooded, but it's just still sleeping, so its neck is all scrunched up a bit. And then the rest of all of these vultures are still kind of waiting for the right opportunity to come down, and they might just wait for that hyena to move on. It is starting to feed. Oh, and this hyena is nibbling away at the carcass. And so whilst we watch this, Ben, just if in case you're watching still, Ben, you asked the question about the hippos. And that secretion is actually, it's a little bit of it's not necessarily sweat, but it's more of a moisture that comes out to protect the skin. And so it's got antibacterial properties in it. It helps with the hydration of the skin, and it protects it from the sun. So a common misconception, I guess, is that it was sweat and it was blood that came out, but it's actually a slightly different substance that helps protect against little cuts and the sun, and it was quite a cool little thing. So Freya, you asking if birds have ears, and yes, they do. Oh, I don't know if you want to just zoom into the birds, and we'll see if we can show you a bird ear. They are quite hard to see sometimes. And Freya, I mean, if you, especially now in the morning, if you were to go out and step outside, I'm fairly sure one of the animals that you'll be hearing most are birds. And they call a lot, and they call sometimes throughout the day, but at this time of day it's the best time for them to call because it's nice and cool. But one of the reasons why they call to one another is to protect their territory that they have, and then also to look for a mate. And so a bird calls, and then a mate might hear it, and then they'll respond. And so they don't really have big flappy ears like mammals have, but you do see them sometimes. A lot of the time they are underneath the feathers though, so we don't really get to see them too well. I was hoping that maybe with that leopard-faced vulture, it's got a very, very bald head, and so I was hoping that we could maybe see one of the little ears, but I can't quite see it at all. So they definitely do have ears, but they're just trapped in feathers, so we don't get to see them too much of the time. It's one of my favorite things, and if you do it, you just sit outside and listen to the bird calls around. Yeah. So I think from this point we've put the puzzle pieces together. I guess we've found that hyena carcass, we've seen the hyena feeding, we've seen the vultures, so we kind of know what will go on today. If that hyena moves off, those vultures are going to come in and start feeding on the hyena that this one is sort of picking at every now and again. So not too much more, I don't think, is going to be happening here. We are probably going to continue on with our game drive, see if we can find any tracks or signs of some cats, and in the meantime we'll send you across to Pridelands, where Taylor's got some really cool animals for you.
Hello everybody, and as everyone has said, welcome to Pridelands. We are staring at some grey giants hiding in the bushes this morning. It's very overcast this side, but it is lovely and warm in comparison to, well, yesterday I suppose we had a bit of a chill. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Gert, and we're exploring the northwestern corner of Pridelands. We haven't actually driven up around here, and surprisingly there's been quite a bit of game around in the form of elephants. There was some zebra and impala behind us, which I might reverse and see if we can get a view. I'm hoping, let's have a look. The elephants are slowly feeding in this direction. They are heading down in towards a drainage line. I think there's nice lush green vegetation there, and there's not very much of that. Oh no, they're changing direction again. This is also quite typical of elephants and animals, is that their direction changes consistently. So now they're going back south. So we might even get lucky, and if they keep going this way, they've got a bit of a distance to walk, but they'll reach Leopard Dam, where we've spent a fair amount of time. Gert, would you like me to reverse? Okay, I'm going to reverse. We're just going to climb up here. I'm going to use my mirrors. But it's been lovely. So, quick update. We've been tracking quite a bit this morning. We wanted to follow up on those lions and the hyena saga from yesterday, but unfortunately, no luck. The lions have crossed north into another area. You good? Forward. More. Just quickly going to get another view of these ellies. There we go. And they've moved on. We did actually hear some roaring in the far distance late last night. The hyenas, however, have been giving us a lot of trouble, though, in camp, causing nonsense after stirring it up with the lions last night. But it's much more pleasant here with the elephants, just having a feed. You can see a few hornbills and drongos and things flying into frame too. Can you see that fork-tailed drongo just sitting? It's just behind that elephant now, one that you were looking at. The one on the left, there, that big elephant. There we go, to the left of its head. Other left. There we go. There's a fork-tailed drongo, and this is a relationship that you see quite often. So that's something that's really amazing, and it's important for all safari guides to learn, is the symbiotic relationships that happen within the wilderness. And that fork-tailed drongo is thoroughly enjoying these elephants as they move through the bushes, stirring up the last of the insects. It actually looks like there's a bird party. Those small little white birds that you catch, there we go, top right-hand corner. There are also some white-crested helmet shrikes, my favorite bird species. And they're gregarious, so we're going to see more of them together, just one drongo on its own. So they're also quite happy to collect all the insects that are around there. I'm very sorry, Rebecca. You can please try and call me again. I should have better signal now. Rebecca is one of the directors. I'm just communicating with her because that's how we talk to one another. So I apologize, I'm not feeding through any of your questions. We're just having some technical difficulties. But have a listen. Can you hear the elephants as they break through all this dry vegetation? There's even hornbills. There's all sorts of birds. You can hear the drongos now. You might also be able to hear a train in the distance. No, that's a medicine. In the distance is what I was trying to say. Well, that's notorious. So there's big mining towns just outside these wilderness areas. Palabora is one of them. And then, of course, Hoedspruit has got a big train station. So they're constantly passing on through. Doesn't seem to bother the animals so much, though. Rebecca, can you try talking for me? Because I don't know if I'm actually hearing you right now. Okay. I think I can hear. So, I'm having problems with now. But this is lovely. Come on, elephants. Oh, there we go. There's a couple of them moving through. They're going to actually push through the bushes now, which will be good. So we should, in just a few moments, get an even better sighting of these elephants. So they might have just head up to a little bit of higher ground last night. Keep away from the cold little valleys and depressions. It was freezing last night. And now they're going to make their way back to the same thing that they do pretty much every single day. There's very few water sources here, so they're going to have to, on their morning jog, if you will, feed on all the vegetation and head back to the closest water source, which is Leopard Dam. When it's not hot, it's very overcast and cloudy. They might take their time, but at least they're coming out a little bit better for us, which is good. I will in the moment also just reverse and see if we can't find those zebra. Actually, Khat, you know, should we do that now? Because the elephants are moving in the direction of where the zebra and the impala are. So they might chase them. Elephants are notorious for chasing other animals, especially there's some young calves in this herd. So they're going to have a good time. Okay, here I can see the impala. Just going to find a little gap for all of you. I might have... Okay. We're going to get a nice view of these zebra and impala, and hopefully we'll have some action. Off you go to Steve, who's got somebody peering out of a little hole.
Thanks, Taylor. Welcome back, everybody. Well, I'm just going to keep quiet for a second because there's noises going on here. Welcome back, everybody. Well, it's nice to have everybody with us. We are live and interactive, so if you have any questions, please feel free to send them through on hashtag WildEarth on Twitter, or follow them in the YouTube chat stream or on Twitch. kids, you're welcome to keep sending your questions as well through those platforms. And if you have the time and inclination, everybody, please feel free to go to the link below to help to support us, bring you wild and wonderful images from the African wilderness as we sit here with a very noisy and vocal Djuma clan. That is Ribbon lying down, and I believe that is Heart that is making all the noise, but I might need some clarification on that. She's another female in the Djuma clan, lower ranking. I'm not sure exactly what's gone on with the dynamics in the last few months, but she's been walking around pasting on these little branches outside, and the little cubs have been coming out and doing the same thing. She's been very vocal, calling and smelling their pasting work as well. The Hyena clan is a wealth of entertainment. We've had so many sightings at the many Hyena clans over the last year. It's quite incredible how much fun it is to spend time with these individuals. Keep dreaming. You want to know if they shed their fur? Well, they lose fur, as most animals do, but dogs are all sort of come from some distant relative of the wolf, and the wolf goes through summer and winter coats due to the fact that it's evolved in a very cold climate. The animals we find down here lose fur, but they don't go through a complete shedding of the coat, as you find with animals. They go through complete seasonal changes. Our winters are fresh, but by no means do we get that cold that would lead the animals to require an entirely new coat. So, not that I'm aware of, but they do lose a lot of fur, as most animals do, just in their day-to-day activity. Off she goes. She's had enough of being the auntie. Dizzy, of course, yes. The cubs are very vulnerable for a very long time, but being the matriarch's cubs, and with the matriarch being around, they're okay. It's why every time someone else comes, they bolt into the hole and go very deep inside. They haven't quite realized yet that the queen is in fact their protector and is the boss of everybody. So there's a lot of sort of scary moments in the beginning. Not all hyenas know what rank they are at birth. They learn it by the way others interact with their mother, and how the others then slowly start to allow the cubs to interact with them, and slowly but surely over time the cubs start realizing that the bigger hyenas actually run away from them or act submissive towards the cubs themselves, and that's when they really start to pick up attitude. And it's kind of like knowing that your mom's the queen in any society, and that anyone will do what you say, otherwise you'll tell your mom and she will have their head, if that makes any sense. And that's how hyena society works. So if anyone poses a threat, you normally see males that come close to the den get a very bad reception. Females are normally very welcome, but males are not tolerated around the den site. Even though they're very curious, they're normally greeted with a very, very bad reception. Hello, cuteness. How does this make you all feel, seeing these two little cutie pies? Still very dark, just starting to get a few spots on the legs. Ruben actually had a cub last year at this exact same hole. I'm not sure what became of it. I think it's still around, but I haven't caught up with the majority of the clan since being back. So the dynamics have shifted quite a lot in the last 15 months or so. Complete change around in the hierarchy. Had enough. Let me be for now. Did you get the question?
Yeah, Leo 11, Johannesburg. How much milk does the cub need to drink?
Oh, Leo, age 11 from Johannesburg, my hometown. There we go, Leo. You want to know how much milk they drink a day? I'm really not sure. But the mother can come back to the den and they can suckle for a solid half an hour, solid hour and a half, and then she goes off again. So I don't know how much that is a day, but hyena cubs, with regards to mammals, are the most dependent of mammal cubs, or mammals for milk. Many mammal cubs are weaned very young, but hyenas don't really go hunting or get much meat for the first year of their life. So the matriarch cubs might get a little bit of meat, like for example, I think Ruben brought something back for them last night by the tracks. Haven't found anything around, but any other cubs from lower ranking females won't get any meat for a very long time. So they suckle for longer than most mammals do, so up to a year even, maybe even a bit longer than that, which is a long time to be suckling. Most mammals are done within a couple of weeks to a couple of months, but hyenas rely heavily on their mother's milk. And like similar sort of predators, like a lion for example, a lion will actually support another one's cubs, give it milk no problem, whereas in hyenas, not at all. There will be no support. If a mum is injured or dies, those cubs will starve. Very sad state of affairs, to be honest with you. Look how alert they are. Even though mum's around, they're very alert because that hyena's coming back again. And whoops, in they go. So they're never sure what's going on. So to be safe, the safety of the den. Gone shy of a meal, that belly of hers. And that's why the matriarch's cubs always do better than others, because the matriarch gets the most food out of a kill. Lions ate my mum. We want to know if a female or the matriarch breeds, does it stimulate the others to breed? I don't know if there's an actual stimulation, but it seems to be the case. I mean, last year before, we had Corky and Pretty and Ruben all breeding sort of in consecutive sequence. Whether that's stimulated at the same time due to hormones, it's very hard to say. But they do take a little bit longer with the breeding than that of others of the same species, it seems. But I'm not sure if there's if there's some hormonal change that goes on that stimulates the rest. It's a very good question. But we've seen some very good success. But then we had, I think, 1.5 years or 2 years here with no hyena cubs. I know my first 2 years, everyone said, where's the hyenas? Okay, we haven't found any. And then they denned just around the corner, and then it was a smorgasbord of hyena cubs for quite some time. You just see that they're naughty, can't you? But they, even though mum's there, and there's a hyena that they're quite familiar with now, they're still very reluctant to come very far from the hole. As they get a bit older and a bit more spotted, a bit more confidence seeps in, and you'll actually find them starting to walk a bit closer, and they'll actually come right up to the car and sniff the wheels and sniff our feet and all those sort of things. But these early stages of figuring out what is dangerous and what isn't is very important for their survival. So we don't know where June is. June is another member of the clan. I think Tristan said she's on Chitwa. Whether she's denning as well with cubs, we don't know. I haven't seen her since I've been back. It's very possible that there could be a dual breeding at the moment, and as soon as the cubs are a little bit bigger, they might find each other. But for now, a little bit too far for these little ones to be moved. They'll keep within this general area. Around where we are now, there's a good, at least 3, possibly even 4 potential dens that have been used before, that the mum will be able to pick up and carry them there. Some of them, she'd even be able to lead them there. This is not far at all. And the moving of dens is quite important from a parasite load. Inside there it gets quite dirty, quite smelly. Fleas, smells, parasites develop. But a very important habitat requirement for hyena termite mounds. Many of the mammal species we have in these reserves sleep or den or nest in holes in the ground. And it seems like Tswalu has got the sunrise. Let's send you over to Tswalu Kalahari for good morning.
Good morning from another magical day in the Kalahari. Jandre and myself are with you again, and I'm really glad that you can all join us out here today. It's going to be an awesome day. I know it. I don't know what we're going to find. We're starting off with the meerkats. They're still tucked up underground. You can see I'm dressed a little bit warmer than we were yesterday. Jean, do we have a meerkat on board? That one obviously heard what I was saying. Come towards me, Jandre, if you can. Come towards me slowly. And then at the back of that acacia at the back, there's one that's just popped out of the burrows way in the distance over there. So we're standing like 40 yards away from them. So we're going to spend a bit of time with the meerkats here. We want to see if Mosadi comes out with a crew and try to get a handle on actually what's happening here this morning. And I have no idea what else our plans are for the day, but it's always good having you with. And yeah, I think we're just going to go out and have a really fun time. And we've got a ground squirrel that's also coming in from the left over here. There we go. So these little animals, they often co-inhabit these burrow systems because the meerkats won't use all of these burrows at the same time. Remember I was saying there's about 35 different entrances here, and kind of the surface area about 236 square meters roughly. So this little squirrel, it's the first time we've seen a squirrel at this burrow system now. So I don't know where he comes from. I don't know what his plan is. But we'll just spend a bit of time and see what's going on. There's only that one meerkat that's up so far. We're just going to bite the bullet here. We are dressed a bit warmer today because of this breeze. It's quite nippy this morning, actually. And still no sign of the tiny little pups. So that's going to be super cool to see them when they come out. So these little squirrel groups can often get quite large, and you can get colonies of 10, 15, 20 of them together. It's just interesting that we haven't seen this one here yet at all. So I wonder where he or she, I mean, I can't see from this distance if it's a male or female. And it could even just be a dispersing animal, you know, that's moving away from another colony somewhere. Okay, that's actually looks like a little female. So that's very interesting. And I wonder if she's even familiar with this burrow system. You know, actually, she's now going from hole to hole to hole, which tells me she's not that familiar with it. So it may be that she's actually dispersed out of another group somewhere. These are herbivores. So the meerkats, remember we were chatting yesterday about them being carnivores. They'll eat pretty much anything. These are only plant eaters, although occasionally they'll eat animal matter as well. I've actually seen them eating dead lizards. Not that they caught them, the old dry lizard, but I have seen them eating lizards. So they'll probably go for a bit of protein whenever they need it. There's another meerkat that's out. It's heading up to the first one in the open area there. Old Master Gendre on camera, never misses a beat here. There you go. Okay, so that one on the far left appears to be one of those ones that rocked up yesterday. So those of you who weren't with us yesterday, Gendre and I were assuming that there's 6 adults in this group, and that's all we saw. And then suddenly yesterday another 2 arrived out of nowhere. And then asking around with habituators, they said, well, there's actually supposed to be 10 in this group. So we're not quite sure what's going on. Now, that one that's sitting on the mound closest to us with that kind of really pug-looking face, that is one of the ones that arrived yesterday that we didn't recognize. And you can see his face is actually quite distinctive, eh? Quite a thick set, you know, very strong neck, almost a stubby looking face. So we can call that one Gendre, maybe. So I think while we're waiting to see what's going on here and waiting for the others to come up, let's head over to Phinda. They've got some long-necked animals that side. See you now.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve again. We about 20 minutes ago left where those lions were. It just crept up over the rocks and we actually couldn't see them anymore, and it's not somewhere where we can get a vehicle in. So we carried on searching through this area and came across this beautiful journey of giraffe. Looks like a group of females with a couple of youngsters. I can't show you exactly now because they're not out in the open, but so far I've counted 7 already. As you can see, they've all got their heads quite deeply buried in some of the trees. So while it's nice and early this morning and nice and cool, the sun is just creeping through the clouds every now and then, which is warming everything up a little bit. And the giraffe are taking this time to feed. Sometimes all you see is just a tree shaking around that gives away that there's a giraffe stuck in there at the moment. I'm going to roll us a little bit forward here. So that one is one of the big adult females I was talking about. No, she's gone back in. Right, now let's move forward a few meters just to get a clear view. There's 2 just on the right hand side of the road up ahead. There we go. Have a look at this. Look at that sunlight on them coming through as well. Just going slowly so we don't disturb their feeding. Look at that. These two just on our right hand side are quite a lot smaller. Oh, sorry, there's three there. Quite a lot smaller than the others. So these are some of the youngsters I was talking about. Such an elegant walk. This little tree that it's feeding off has got some very sharp little thorns. It's called a buffalo thorn. So just keep watching her and you'll see how she sticks out that long... I don't know if any of you have seen giraffe tongues before. I'm sure those of you who have watched these shows before have seen. But they've got a very long, black, almost purple tongue. And this little young female's going to use that to try and get in between the thorns and pick off the very nutritious leaves of this tree. She's also got very long, rubbery lips to help her stretch the lips forward and be able to grab hold of the little leaves all in between the thorns. It's quite an amazing defense mechanism that this tree has got, because it's got such good nutritious leaves that all the browsing animals want to eat it, so it has to protect itself somehow. Oh, have a look at this one up ahead here. Have a look how it's scratching its neck on this dead tree. It's obviously got an itch in an area where it definitely can't reach to scratch it. And it's using that tree now to reach that little spot behind the ear. Yeah, you can definitely see the pleasure in its eyes while it's scratching. So it's a very small one. I'm guessing in the region of probably 6 months old, these younger ones here. Morning, Chia. That is a very good question. Yes, zebras are often with giraffe. At the moment, though, there don't seem to be any with this little journey of giraffe. But you are right. There often are zebras with the giraffe. This whole area is quite a big open grassland, so it would actually be a very good area for zebra. But yeah, they're not always with giraffe, and there obviously just aren't any at the moment. They really are such beautiful animals. Really one of my favorites to watch. You can see how aware they are as well. Even though it's quite a big group of 7 or 8 of them, they're constantly looking out. So we're going to leave these giraffe to carry on using this nice early cool morning to carry on feeding, and we're going to send you across to Tristan, who's managed to find a leopard.
Well, guys, we have the most entertaining, exciting, epic scenario playing out. We've tracked this male leopard and female leopard all the way from Djuma camp onto far into Simbambili, and we've just found Hukamuri and what I think is a skittish male from Buffels Hook having a standoff at the moment. And I think there's actually a third leopard here. I think there's 3 different leopards. There goes the male. That's the skittish one that I think, or Mulawati. I can't see who it is. There's another leopard lying to the right of that. Through there, you can see. And then Hukamuri to my right. And they're having a standoff at the moment. So it seems as though 2 leopards and another one over there. And there's lots of growling. There's lots of posturing taking place. It's pretty insane. And that's Hukamuri that's making all the noise on our right-hand side. Like I say, I can't see nicely who the other leopard is, but there's a lot of interaction here. But I'm pretty sure that what's happened is it's either Mulawati or the skittish male from Buffels Hook that has come with Shadulu all the way into Simbambili. Hukamuri has heard the commotion, he's come in, and now there's the standoff over this female. Or it could be even a third male. It's very possible. It's really difficult to see what's going on, but we have 3 leopards together, which is absolutely insane, and it was a long track. We took a long time to get to this point. I mean, we've covered, what do you reckon, Dave? Probably 3-4 kilometers already this morning. And how we found these guys was really actually quite an interesting story. We had a situation where we had a hyena that came out, and it's a hyena I haven't seen for years. It's got this floppy ear. It's a pretty cool hyena to see. And it came out and it was sniffing. So we stopped and turned the car off, and then we heard this low little grumble that I don't know if you guys can hear it, but you might be hearing it every now and then, a little grumbling going on. And this grumble, we got louder, and then we would drive a little bit and stop and listen. We couldn't quite place it, and we did round and round and round, and our circles got smaller and smaller, and eventually we got the 3 of them together now. And like I say, I don't know who's who just yet. All I know is Hukamuri is the one that you're seeing now on our right-hand side. The other 2, I'm not sure, but can you hear him talking? Not a happy leopard. And rightly so. If Shadulu is in amongst this, he's going to be upset because now there's a male in his territory and with his female. So that's why there's this grumbling. And they'll rather use posturing and noise to try and chase each other away than actual fighting. But at some point, there's something is going to happen. Now that leopard might look like it's dead, but it's very much alive. I saw it lift its head. I just can't see who it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drive in a little bit. I'm a bit kind of apprehensive because I don't want the other leopard to run away. Hukamuri's fine. He'll stay where he is. All right, I'm going to try and get into a better position to just try and figure out who I've got. In the meantime, though, let's send you over to Steve with an elephant.
Well done, Tristan. You've been tracking him for some time. I know that feeling when you spend a lot of time tracking a leopard to find him, you know. Well, we've heard elephants from the den, and we decided to come investigate, and we found a world of cuteness. There's a little youngster, a few months old, in his first year anyway. It's very small. Oh, that bird, get him. There's a little lapwing next to him there. You saw the behavior. He wants to chase it. The ears up. Such a big, formidable little creature, isn't it? Right next to Mum. So elephants and babies are always very close together. Guarded. Going behind us now, unfortunately. We've see a bit of the aerial there. We do apologise. No control over the movement of these animals. Hello, Mum. Mum's going to give us a cursory look. See, the foot went into the air like that. Did you see that? That is a decision-making process elephant is making. If ever you encounter an elephant and they lift their leg off the ground and they do that waving with the leg, the elephant is making a decision. And the best thing you can do is nothing. Be quiet, switch off your car and just wait and let the decision be made by the elephant. Don't decide to start your car, don't decide to go any closer because you're going to force that animal to make a decision. I'm not saying aggressive, but it's making a decision, trying to figure out what to do. And if you do something, it's going to be forced to pick an option that it might not have picked. Let's quickly go over to Tristan.
Guys, look at this. Now listen, you can see Hukamuri's chasing the other male. It's that skittish male from Buffels Hook. They're posturing laterally and Shadulu's between us. Shadulu trying to mate with Hukamuri, and this other male is following her. It's unbelievable to watch. I'm going to just go back a little bit, see if we can get them. She's here with me at the moment. She tried to mate with Hukamuri, and the other male just intercepted immediately. Now, I do apologize if we get signal breakup a little bit where we are. I'm going to try not move too much, but obviously we're going to try and keep up. But here's Shadulu in front. Now, you can see the boys, even though they want to mate, their priority is to take care of each other and to watch each other very carefully. And so that's why they're fighting with one another and kind of laterally positioning to chase each other. There she goes. So she's the one that's causing a little bit of the drama at the moment. But how insane is this to see the two boys going at each other? I'm trying to, like I say, keep signal. It's difficult because it's undulating here and it's not an easy place for us, but I'm hoping that the signal guards will be looking after us and we'll be able to keep up with them as they go. I'm going to try and stay on as high a ground as possible, just keep up with her because she's the one that's going to be key here. The two boys, while they'll go after each other, one will always come back towards her. And it's going to be a really interesting battle this between Hukamuri and look, they're chasing each other here. Look, now just listen to the low audible growl. So Hukamuri closest to us, skittish male, I don't know what we're going to call him, far from us at the moment. It looks like him. I don't think it's Mulawati. Not that I've seen Mulawati, but I kind of know what he looks like. This looks like that male we had the other night, and you can see that they are not happy with each other. Now, it would be lots of salivating. So it just goes to show a bit of perseverance and hard work eventually pays off. So we have been trying for days to track down the mating pair that is Shadulu, and we know was Mulawati. And like I say, I'm not 100% sure if this is Mulawati at the moment still. I haven't really had a great chance to look at him, but it looks like that male that I've seen that comes out of Buffelshoek that Roan saw up at andBeyond in Ngala in 2016. That's who it looks like at this stage. What's interesting to me, though, is that Hukamuri seems to be the one that's lying down on his side, which is generally a position of submission. And the other male is the one standing up and standing tall. And Shadulu is between Hukamuri and this male at the moment. Now you see they've both laid down and are watching each other. Shadulu is behind us to the left. So he's lying between her and Hukamuri, which is odd to me because we're in the center of Hukamuri's territory. He should be the one. Here comes Shadulu. Let's see what she does, because she's the one that's going to spark interest amongst these two leopards. You see, she's trying to bypass him to get to Hukamuri. You see, and he's trying to cut her off. Look at this. Listen. Now you see how they try and avoid coming to blows. They're trying to size each other up. They're trying to make sure that they are posturing all the time rather than actually fighting, because if they fight, that's obviously something that could cause a lot of damage. Ooh, this is going to end in tears at some point, because Shadulu, you can see she doesn't want to mate with this other male. She wants to be with Hukamuri. She's trying to get away from this other male to Hukamuri all the time, but obviously there's just no chance for her. You see how she's rolling where Hukamuri was? So she's the one that's actually causing Hukamuri to have a hard time, because that other male kind of postures and moves off a little bit, but as soon as she comes towards him, he's trying to intercept. And like I say, the more that this goes on, eventually the boys are going to come to blows and they're going to actually physically fight. If they can't work out their differences between size and scent marking, we're going to see them coming to blows. And it just goes to show you what's amazing about this whole interaction is that a male leopard that is skittish, we know that this male leopard is not a relaxed individual. Whether it was Mulawati or the other one is irrelevant. They're both not relaxed. But yet in this situation, they have the confidence to walk towards the female, to try and kind of come together and come towards our car, even in a situation like this, which is pretty crazy. So even though he's not the most relaxed, he's ignoring us completely because he's involved with another male and a female, and that drive and that instinct and that fear of protecting himself is what's going to cause him to rather not worry about us altogether and rather focus on what's going on in front of him. I'm hoping, though, that they stay up like this. The longer they stay up, the better it is for us, the more chance we've got of being able to stay with them. I see they're cutting to the left here, so let's just try and go. But isn't this amazing? Wow. So special. And like I say, it was a long track, but a very cool one. Hello, boy. There's Shadulu and him together now. Now, I don't know where Hukamuri is. This is unbelievable. This is one of those rare looks into leopard behavior. Now, everyone will tell you that these cats are not social. They avoid each other. But here you can see that there are instances where they are pulled together. But they are heading towards Simambili Dam, which is going to be, once they get to the dam area, then it's going to be a lot more open, and we should be able to see a lot more of what's going on and kind of track them better than what we're seeing right now. Here's Shadulu here. The two boys have just run off a little bit further north of her at the moment, and you see how she's sniffing, she's smelling. And this is why I was wondering when we got to tracks it just now. The tracks, like I said, look different. So I suspect that she was mating, like I say, with this other male, and then what happened was the two came together. Well, Hukamuri heard it and has come in, and now there's this kind of standoff between them, and they're trying to sort of argue and establish who's dominant. But Hukamuri at the moment is being the most submissive. He deep into territory, and the offensive leopard is the shy male. So I haven't even actually looked at these leopards properly yet. I just know Hukamuri easily and obviously know Shadulu, but this other male, maybe I'm wrong. Like I say, it would be nice to get an idea. Look, she's even hissing at this other male. She doesn't want to be with him at all. Can you hear the growling? Look, she's backing away from him. I think she's been trying to get away from this male since that day at the dam cam. This is fascinating. How amazing. David, isn't this cool? The boys are chasing each other again. You see, he just keeps cutting Shadulu off. Every time she tries to get to Hukamuri, he cuts her off and scent marks. You see, look. And you listen to her snarling. This could be a defining moment for Hukamuri. This could be him being ousted from an area. He is definitely giving way. Mulawati. Let me have a look properly with binos quickly. Come on, turn to me. Vic, you're saying you can't believe that that I'm having such a brilliant day. Well, I can tell you, given that this is my last morning, that this is as special as it gets for me. I mean, we all know that I love to spend time with leopards, in particular the leopards of this part of the world, because they have a special place for me. I mean, I've spent many, many years following them, and so, I have this thing about, the leopards here, and it kind of, I don't know, it's a lot of time spent. And so to see something like this, rare glimpses into a leopard's life that is not a common thing to see, and particularly an interaction like this, is just unbelievable. So, and on my last day as well for, the foreseeable future, is pretty special. Oh, Shadulu is not enjoying this boy at all. Bless you, David. How crazy is the sighting? All right, let's try to catch up. I don't know where Hukamuri is. He's somewhere here, but the two boys are walking together. You see, she is the one that keeps trying to go to Hukamuri, and poor Hukamuri then has to deal with the consequence of her actions. Here we go. So she's there, he's there, Hukamuri just to the front of him at the moment. Now you see, he's running interference again. He's trying to keep Shadulu away from him. I wonder if he thinks to himself like, well, why am I being chased away? It would be interesting to know. All right, let's try to catch up with them, David. I think going... Ex-Ranger, yes it will, because this other male is seeing that we're not getting involved in their fight. We're not trying to take the female. We're not a part of this whole process. We're just observing. And so it does help. Funny enough, Tingana, he was quite shy. And only when he started mating did we really start to see him relaxing. He started to realize that the females weren't worried about us, and so then he wasn't worried either. But you can see him here. He's walking around with confidence. He's not worried about our presence. He seems to be absolutely fine with us being here. So, this will go a long way for him realizing that we're not something to worry about. And we're certainly not individuals that he needs to be too concerned with. Oh, look at this. 3 leopards in one frame is just so epic. The hook walking to the right, him in the middle, Shadulu on the left. Hokumuri, you're just giving away ground inch by inch here. It's amazing to see him being pushed on his own turf. I would have thought he would have been far more aggressive to this male, but he is actually, like I say, being bullied at this stage by this male, which is interesting. It might actually be Mulawati. I had a brief view of him on the binoculars before they ran away, and it could be him. I see he's got one spot over that left whisker line, so it might actually be Mulawati. Just, like I say, have to double check when we... There go, the boy is running again. All right. Unfortunately, we're going to have a bit of a signal breakup issue where we're going now. So we're going to send you across to Steve while I see if I can just get into a little bit of a higher ground so that we can see what's going on.
Thanks, Tristan. How remarkable it is to see interaction like that. Our patience has paid off, and we've been waiting for this herd of buffaloes from the distance to come down, and here they are, having a drink. Nice herd of about 50, 60 buffalo. They'll drink twice a day, normally in the early morning and then in the late afternoon. They are very, very well entrenched in this watering hole currently with their flock of ox pickers. Variety of ages of buffalo here. Someone has recorded that a buffalo can drink 36 litres of water in a matter of minutes. They stick their mouth in and they just drop the diaphragm and it just sucks in 36 litres. That's a lot of water. A vehicle of this size that we have takes about double that in fuel for a long journey, so that puts it into perspective. Very important for their survival. And it's also why buffalo are so close to water all the time. They don't have the most adapted digestive system when it comes to retaining moisture. Their dung is very wet. They don't have dung like a giraffe that's really managed to extract majority of the liquid out of. As with many of the other ruminants as well, buffalo give off a very wet patty of dung, and that means they've got a very high demand of water, making them incredibly water dependent. There's a mama there with a youngster behind her. You can see the youngsters are all very small and brown, all born in the summer months. You can just see the head. There goes another one. One with a very nice sort of shaggy coat. Keep it warm. One on the left there, big. You see that shaggy coat on that one. Hello, little fella. He looks nice and warm, especially on the hindquarters. They're still dependent on milk at this stage. The buffalo breed all at the same time, pretty much within 2 or 3 months It is a baby drive today. Now, the buffalo breed when the rains have fallen, so when all the vegetation is at its best. So the females can build up condition. There's lots of cover as well. The youngsters can hide, and by the time drought sort of starts settling in, or dry conditions start settling in, the youngsters are weaned and are eating grass. And that means that they can support themselves without mum having to feed herself and provide nutrient-rich milk to keep them going. But it's the buffalo calves that are the most at risk from predators. And they stay very close to the females. And at any sign of danger, you'll see this entire herd operate in such a way that the youngsters all seem to vanish inside the mix of it all. Buffalo and lion have coexisted for a very long time, and you would definitely say lion is the primary predator. Hello, Alison. That's a good question. It's a good question. We had things happening at Chitwa. I think it was last year when Chitra's watering hole. Something happened to it, and it led to a huge algal bloom, which killed a lot of fish. The animals that live out in these environments have got a very, very good constitution when it comes to their stomach, and they do very well with water. That would probably make you or I sick, but they've adapted with it. So not necessarily does the water become toxic, but it does have the potential through enormous amounts of organic material release, through buffalo dung perhaps, or even a bit of rainfall washing a lot of manure into the water, hippo defecation. You get a bit of a nutrient bloom, which leads to a bacteria bloom, an algae bloom, should I say, and that leads to the removal of oxygen in the water. It happens in estuaries all around the world. Gets a very smelly sort of thing. Have a look at this big boy here, BK. He was busy doing the Fleming grimace. Now that is what we call in South Africa a meneer. A sir. He's a big boy. And if the oxygen is depleted from the water, then it can lead to fish and other organisms in the water dying. And something like that happened in Chitwa last year. He's looking around for any exciting females. Oh, very good. Okay, well, let's hope Tristan has got some better signal. Let's go back over to him and his leopard trio.
Well, we have all right signal, so it's definitely Mulawati now that I've had a chance to actually look at him. You can see he's a little shy, but not bad, actually. He's being fairly decent. He just likes to have a little bush between him and you, and once he's got a bush, he's fine. So Mulawati to our left, Shadulu right next to us, and Hukamuri at the moment a little bit to our right at this stage. So she's kind of lying between them, and she's looking for him more than she's looking at Mulawati. It's quite interesting watching how Mulawati on the left, Hukamuri on the right, and her trying to always get to Hukamuri, but him running interference has been happening. And like I say, Hukamuri is just giving ground all the time. You see, look, she's going to go to exactly to where Hukamuri is now, and he's going to come in front of her and try and stop her from getting to Hukamuri. Watch this. This is going to be interesting to see. She's going to try and make with him. Now, Mulawati is going to be interesting to see his reaction, whether he comes towards where Hukamuri is and interferes. Listen. There he goes, running after them. The two boys will run together and we'll go. Like I say, I'm going to try and keep up with them and try and keep signal, but it's going to be tricky. Luckily, we've got another vehicle that's joined us now. Thankfully, the Simamili guys are doing so much work for us. They've been on foot all morning trying to help, trying to see what's going on. So here's Shadulu here. I'm sure Mulawati is going to come back. He keeps coming back to her and then chasing Hukamuri and back and chasing Hukamuri and back. It's been really interesting to watch his behavior. So crazy to see, but very, very cool. I can't believe Hukamuri's giving ground the way that he is at the moment. He is literally just backing down all the time to this male. Mulawati, are you just taking over everywhere, boy? This is crazy. He's going to have a territory that is going to be monstrous at this rate. Look, I don't think we can say that Hukamuri is being dethroned properly yet. We've got a situation where obviously they're still interacting, but you see, look how he's coming towards her. Now you see, he's cutting behind to try to get to Hukamuri again, and there he comes, blocks her path. It's just crazy to... Let's go forward a little bit, Dave, just so that... Because he seems to be here somewhere too. But it's on top now, and I don't know where Mulawati's gone. I thought it might be Hukamuri on top. He's got a much more orange coat. You see his coat color compared to the other two. He's more orange, and he's more a yellow color. So Shadulu. Now look, you see she's running towards him. She's like, I know you. I want to mate with you. Look, this is her posturing. He's not interested in mating because, well, there's another male leopard at this stage. And so at the moment, it's just leopard coming. Too many Dutchins for the mating. So the dude is trying to force this mating process. Look, there just straight through. There you see she's trying again. But Mulawati is just always in the way, unfortunately. Sorry, Dave, I'm trying to just get into good areas here. I'm very worried about our signal as we drop down. It's going to start becoming harder and harder for us where we get. But let's just try and get in here.
So we are sitting, we just followed a couple of the meerkats away from the burrow, and while we were just like trying to figure out what's going on, and remember, those of you who've joined us over the past couple of days, I've been saying how nervous the meerkats are. It's the most mind-blowing thing. We had like a super fast glimpse of a honey badger. Popped his head out of one of these burrows in front of us and went straight back down again. So Jandre and myself, neither of us even managed to get a photograph, no footage or anything. But it's just, this is absolutely insane. So now we're sitting here waiting and hoping that he actually pops out again. Honey badgers will be active during the day or in the evening. They really kind of don't worry about either. But they're super sensitive to disturbance. So we're just going to be very quiet. We're sitting quite far away. And we're also sitting... the wind is now cutting across us, so it's not blowing directly from us to the burrow. But I'm really hoping that if we're patient and we sit here long enough, that we're actually going to see him popping out. That's also why I don't want to talk too loudly. But this is really exciting. It's something that you don't see frequently. They cover massive areas, and these are a very real threat to meerkats. If they get down a burrow system and they can get into, they'll wiggle into tiny little spaces, super fast diggers. There's not much that's going to get away from a badger if it gets down there, so. So we're just going to hope and just wait and see what happens here. This is too good an opportunity to miss. So Jandre and I, we're just going to bite the bullet, stay in this one place as long as we couldn't even see if it's a male or a female. It was just such a fast sighting. But this is exactly the kind of thing, you know, why these meerkats would have been so nervous the past couple of days. This badger might have been, you know, foraging around this area, and they're very aware of it. Wow. I'm just so bleak that we actually it was such a quick sighting that we actually couldn't, there was just no ways we could have, unless you had a camera trained on that exact burrow at that exact moment. It's just, there's no ways you could get that kind of shot. It's just, yes, this is like, I'm over the moon. So this is, just to kind of give you an idea, this is a burrow system we haven't seen yet, and it's about, from where the meerkats had originally come out, it's about 100 yards due south from it. A very, very small, just a couple of little burrows there. We haven't even approached it because I didn't want to disturb what's going on there. And the reason we walked down here to have a look is these meerkats, the Xhosa group and the Mosadi, with the alpha female Mosadi, they've been so nervous the past couple of days, and it's like animals that have been coming and going. We're just trying to figure out what's actually happening there with this group. And then this morning, that quite thick-set little one popped out with another one, and then 3 of them ran off down in this direction. No alarm calls, but looking nervous, tails in the air. So we ambled down just to see what's going on here. And then they disappeared. They scattered into the bushes, and then this badger pops out, goes straight on the burrow again. So, wow. We're just gonna wait and see what happens here. Catcher, unfortunately, if it's a honey badger involved, I would be very, very, very surprised if meerkats can actually keep it away. They are incredibly tough little animals. They have a phenomenal ability to dig. They can dig very fast. They can get into the tiniest spaces. So for ferreting things out of burrows and stuff, this is what badgers are designed to do. They are super adept at these kind of things. So, yeah, and if the good news is, like I said, this burrow system is still about 100 yards away from where the pups are, and the rest of the meerkats all still up there. So as it's standing now, it's not an immediate threat to the meerkats, the Xhosa group that we're following. But the concerning thing is it's in a very, very close proximity. 100 yards for a badger, he'll cover that in about less than a minute. So it's just, and we're just going to sit and wait. I know it's going to be like a bit of dead time, unfortunately. But just the fact of having an opportunity of seeing a honey badger out here is just unreal. Maybe it doesn't pay off. That's nature for you, But I think Genre and I, we're not going to give up. We're just going to sit here and see what happens. So, yeah, super exciting. This is amazing stuff. So keep watching, and I know that our colleagues down in the Lowveld and Phinda, and that they're getting some amazing sightings. So I'm sure they're going to keep you well engaged, while Genre and I, we just bite the bullet on this side and keep our eyes open for you. And remember, those of you who were at the meerkats early this morning with us, remember we said there was a squirrel that rocked up there that we hadn't seen before. I reckon that this squirrel, there was a squirrel in this burrow system, and that badger rocked up at some point in the evening, and that's why those squirrels were relocating, because of this badger. It's in like that's like where you're kind of piecing it together now. Remember, we're like, here's this new squirrel, we haven't seen him before, he doesn't know those burrows, you're like checking them out. Well, you go to pop down to the next burrow system, hey, there's a honey badger, okay, go figure. If I was a squirrel, I also wouldn't stick around. We're just going to be quiet and we're just going to watch. It sounds like Taylor's got a really fun elephant sighting there at Pridelands, so I think head over that way and we're just going to stick it out here.
We are at one of my most favorite dams, and I think that this could be the first time that we've actually managed to go live here, which is quite exciting. And this dam has got a fitting name. It is called Ndlovu Dam, which means elephant. And pretty much throughout the entire day, elephants come and swim and drink and wallow in the mud right here at the eco training camp, which is really, really awesome. So all the students get to come and sit out safely from the other side and watch these gentle giants do their thing. So what we've got over here is just 4 young elephant bulls. The 2 at the back you can see are slightly younger. And then the 2 that are now barged on past and demanded that they are more superior and they are deserving of drinking the water. And it's actually been really awesome to see, because you don't always get to see big bachelor herds of elephants, and it's not uncommon to see 20 or 30 elephant bulls of varying ages all interacting amongst one another. So this is all, very valuable knowledge that everybody can learn just from sitting at this dam, which is great. And it's very pretty. Look at all the leadwoods that are surrounding the dam wall, and they pretty much extend all the way around. But the water is disappearing at an alarming rate. And with all the elephants coming to drink and swim, it's actually quite deep in the middle. They've sort of dug a trench. They're defecating in it, which is not ideal. And we know that elephants like to drink very clean water. So if you watch them carefully, you'll see how they're just sucking up the top of the water. You see that? They're not sticking their trunks too far in. They're just drinking the clean water that's sitting on the surface. But they have stirred it up quite a bit. Perhaps these bulls are not too particular. But when the breeding herds come, you'll see the females sort of swish their trunks around in the water and then slurp that all up. But there's another bull also coming in. We're very lucky. He's marching across the top of the dam wall at a very quick speed. He's also got his tail out a little bit. I don't think it's aimed at us, that agitation. You can see him smelling the other bulls. I don't think any of these bulls will be really competing for breeding rights right now. They're incredibly young. I think that one is he looks like he's the biggest. He must just be hitting his 20s now, early 20s or late teens. No, doesn't want to drink down with those boys. It's also quite steep. You can see it's not always easy for these elephants. Let's see if he decides to slide on down the bank here, or if he's going to be clever and go all the way around where the pathway is slightly easier. Yeah, I think that's what he's going to do. He seems to be quite wary of the other ellies down at the dam. There we go. Don't beef elephants can control their body weight quite nicely. You can see how they sit with all the weight in their back legs and then climb down. Now, Faith Jogger, yes, I definitely think that there are some fish in this dam. Maybe some barbel or catfish, potentially some tilapia species, which is quite a common fish that you'll find throughout Africa. And who knows what other little freshwater species. However, this dam it's residing, like I said, at a decent rate. So, small fish that maybe prefer cleaner or clearer water wouldn't last. But if you have hardy fish like tilapia and like barbel and catfish, they might be able to make it, especially the catfish. So there will be some. And I know there isn't anything today, but normally amongst the legs of the elephants, you can see a grey heron. There's one that's lives at the dam. I don't know where it is today. And occasionally we see yellow-billed storks come on through too. So there must be something living in here, whether it's also frog species. There might even be some freshwater crustaceans. Who knows? Maybe the odd mud crab or something around here. But definitely lots of bird life in the dam on a regular basis. Elephants are obviously not going to enjoy a fish. We know that they just eat vegetation. But I always wonder, and it's a question I've mentioned this probably a few years ago. I'll pose this question again. If I ever have the opportunity to be able to speak to animals, the first thing I'm going to do is ask an elephant if they've ever sucked up a fish or a frog in their trunks. I think the children that normally watch the show would enjoy that and maybe have a giggle at it. And there we go. You can see that elephant is now raising its tail, We all know what that means. Oh no, been pushed back down. It's always funny how they start to drink water and then they just feel the urge to urinate and defecate into the water that they will drink. Perhaps he was just passing some wind. Definitely producing lots and lots of gas building up in those bellies. Paige, now that's a very interesting question, I suppose, coming after my comment about elephants potentially sucking up amphibious or some type of fish species into their trunks. Because they do feed on vegetation, you're wondering if it would rot in their stomach. So I think the thing that we must remember with elephants is that they do have such a digestive system. There's a light aircraft, a small airplane just flying over us now. They only digest about 40% of their food or so. So sometimes if you go digging through some elephant dung, and we can maybe have a look. Can we have a look? Maybe at this dung closest to us. So we're just going to pull out from the elephants. But when you look at dung, I would get out and show you, but I'm going to disturb the elephant. You can see quite a bit of vegetation still left there. You see that? So there's leaves in there, there's sticks, there's bits of grass. So I think if they were, to accidentally suck up a very small fish, I think it would just come straight out. I don't think their bodies are designed to be able to digest those types of nutrients. I mean, I don't think suck up very many fish. That they would probably feel a tickle in their trunk, probably snort and spray the water out. I know I would. If you've ever had a baby, you know that feeling. So perhaps they'd feel something quite similar, but I don't know. So yes, no, I don't think that it would necessarily rot in its stomach. I think it would probably just come straight out. Yeah. Now, my other friends, obviously, after they've had a drink of water, if they do splash themselves with water, as you can see all that red dirt that lines the dam wall. Sometimes they go and dig where they're landing behind that leadwood tree. And they'll rub up against it, or they might try and scoop some of the sand and throw it over their bodies, which makes for a lovely contrasting colour. But let's see if they do that today. No, just spraying a bit of water at its feet. Having a scratch, I think. You can see how that tree is completely smeared in mud. And pretty much every tree, from the marula trees, apple leaves and leadwoods, and the odd little boerbean tree that's sprouting up, they're all caked in mud like that, just from the ellies coming past and scratching. But you can also see buffalo here, and warthogs, and they will do... Very peaceful though. Normally this dam's quite chaotic on a hot day. You can see twin herds of elephants coming through, and then, to stir some trouble, a bachelor herd of bulls will pass on by and then really ruffle everybody up. And it's quite vocal, which is really nice. This is also the same sort of area where a leopard regularly visits us and comes to drink. We've had lions come past here. We've pretty much had every single animal you can think of come down to this dam. So it's very, very productive. An elephant trying to climb up. Go on, you're a young Ellie. Those joints shouldn't be anywhere near stiff just yet. He's taking his time. Like I said, they're very, very capable of climbing and going down sort of steep hills. Can you hear that lovely sound as they swoosh through the water? There's an elephant at the back in the middle. He sort of put his truck up and squirted the water out. They must have a lot of fun having a hose attached to their nose. I suppose it is their nose, eh? There we go, all interacting with one another now. See that, how they stick their trunks in each other's mouths. Very typical elephant behavior. They also will stick their trunks around their nether regions so that they can smell one another, get to know each other. All part of the elephant greeting. Oh, that elephant sprawled out over that log. It's a bit difficult to see with all those bums in the way. No. And just as quick as that, they've had a drink. It looks like they're going to be on their way. Oh. Off they. I like the way that they come on in and then leave a different way. And just as they're leaving, it's quite incredible. Elephants are, obviously, they can be quite disturbing around a watering hole, but a whole bunch of birds have just flown on in. You might see just down to where those elephants were on the logs, there were some grey go-away birds. There they fly. And some turtle doves or ringneck doves. I can't keep up with the name changes. You can also hear red-billed buffalo weavers. There's some turtle doves on our side of the dam where we're sitting. And, of course, there's always a blacksmith lapwing. So I quite like that. There's a terrapin here too. Pop all happening now. Now, I know our elephants have disappeared, but we shall chat about how you sort of age them. And that question was from Debbie. Debbie, you know, it takes a lot of experience of just seeing lots of elephants all the time. However, you can use their tusks as an indication, but this is, of course, not always reliable because tusk length is largely because of their, you know, their genetics. So you can look at how hairy an elephant is. Often when elephants are little, they're a lot more they've got those coarse bristles covering their body. It's a lot more dense than what you'd see on the adults. Also, they could be slightly pink in color, especially around the backs of their ears. You can look for things like that. And those tusks typically only start protruding from the folds of skin anywhere between 4 years old. But I would say just after 2 years or so. And then with elephants, it's obviously they're out of proportion at some point in their life. Like those bulls, you could see they had very long legs, but they hadn't quite sort of short and stocky. Not short and stocky, sort of quite stocky, but with these really, really long legs. So you can look for things like that. But we'll try and go through aging when we find some more elephants. Off you go back to the Sabi sand to Steve, and he's got something walking down the road.
Thanks, Taylor. We've got a few ages of Egyptian geese here. We've got the one adult there on the back right, and the other four are little goslings. And I found it quite funny because we found their tracks in the road a little while ago, and then we caught up with them waddling along. I don't know if that's mum or dad at the back, but is on parental watch. Oh, there's another one in the bushes off to the right that mum or dad is about to go and collect. And actually doing some grazing. You saw, I don't know if you saw it there, but the beak along the grass seeds and busy plucking grass seeds off it. And quite a funny thing to, hello, he's going to go and scoop up one of the goslings that has gone astray. We're very close to a little pan of water, but Egyptian geese are renowned for walking on land and feeding on grass, and also aquatic vegetation. I spoke earlier about hippos in the water and their dung being obviously excreted into the water. It leads to an enormous amount of nutrients, provides a lot of organic material for fish, and also leads to some plants growing, and that is filter feeding type of plants as well, that ducks and geese are capable of filtering out with their beaks. All part and parcel of the system. Egyptian geese are prolific all throughout Africa and even in North America nowadays, I believe. I think some were brought over and released. And they're gone. You just don't see them. They've hidden themselves in the grass. Very close to where one lioness called Chella actually had her cubs. One of the Pride lionesses had 3 separate dens just in this area, and this is called Chella Pan over here. That's where she got her name from. Very good. Okay, well, we're going to move on to see if we can find anything exciting. For you, meantime, we're going to send you over to andBeyond Phinda with some rhinos.
Hello and welcome back to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve with me, Clive, and Marcel behind the camera. For those of you who were watching yesterday afternoon, we managed to find these same rhinos in almost the same place, a couple of 100 meters in that direction. But now it seems like it's only two, the mother and the calf. Now again, for those of you who were watching yesterday, I was explaining that there were two calves. One was slightly bigger, and we think that was what we call a satellite calf, which has been adopted by this mother, but it seems to have moved off, which is actually quite strange. So now it's just the mother, which is the one on the left-hand side, much bigger, and the calf on the right-hand side. Now, if this is the first time you are watching and seeing rhinos live from Phinda Game Reserve, the reason we're doing this is because we are 100% certain that the rhinos are safe. So it's absolutely fine to screen them for the world to see. You can see, especially with the mother, that the rhinos have been dehorned, which takes away any possibility of anyone wanting to come and harm them. So the conservation efforts here on Phinda are very, very good. We have an amazing anti-poaching team as well. And it's really nice to be able to show you guys all over the world these beautiful animals. So the reason I say these are white rhino, you can see their heads are, well, you can probably just see the mother now. But
her head's also behind this tree now.
Okay. I can move. Let me just move slightly forward, actually backwards, so that you can see on the camera. The reason I say these are white rhinos, oh, there we go, look at that, is that they've got their heads down and they are grazing. Another really good way to tell the difference between the white and the black rhinos is if you have a look at the rhino's back. These ones have got quite a big hump in the middle of their back, whereas the black rhino wouldn't have that. Oh, this is really so special, especially to see them right out in the open like this as well. You know what, I think these are actually different rhinos to the ones we saw yesterday afternoon. Hi Dina, you're asking how many times we have to dehorn the rhinos in the lifetime. So a big adult like this has already been dehorned, but I see the younger calf, which, just having a quick look, is maybe in the region of about maybe 1.5 years old. So that one wouldn't have been dehorned yet because it's got a very small horn only. But we try, you know, it obviously regrows, so we try to dehorn between 18 months, around about every 18 months or so. At that stage, the horn has grown quite a lot. We'll horn these ones relatively soon when this youngster is old enough. But in a whole lifetime, I mean, an adult rhino like this could live up to about 40 years old, so they might have to do it, close to 20 times. But let's say about 15 times or so in her lifetime. You can see how they've chosen, there's quite a lot of long grass around here, but they've chosen a patch of quite short grass. And that's where the nutrition for these rhinos comes from, is in the short, like the base of the grass. The long grass has no nutritional value to them. Pablo, that's a very good question. The difference between a white and a black rhino is what they eat. That's the first thing. So, Pablo, if you can see these ones, they've got a big, wide, square mouth or lip, which they use to get right down to the base of the, to the level of the soil and be able to pick up the grass with these lips. So these white rhino eat grass, and then a black rhino, firstly, is a little bit smaller than white rhino, and they are what we call browsers. So they eat off trees. So we normally find them in a slightly thicker area where there's lots of trees, not really out in the open grassland like this. And they have a very pointed mouth or pointed lip that they use to grab hold of little branches on the trees. So that's the biggest difference, but if you just look at it very quickly, they look very, very similar. But that's a very good question. I hope you learn a lot from that answer. Well, it sounds like the saga is continuing on Tristan's side, so we're going to send you across there, and we are going to carry on driving through these grasslands and see what else we can find.
3 leopards and us right here. Isn't this cool? We've got all 3 of them, and what's been amazing is we've had this most incredible sighting of these 3 cats. They were at Samamili Dam. We tried to get signal, but we couldn't. They were kind of out in the open, and it was really interesting to see. Now, Hukumuri's whole demeanor has changed. He reached the dam, he drank right in front of Mulawati and basically looked at him, and then from there, he's been the more aggressive leopard, pushing Mulawati back all the time. And Shidulu is with Hukumuri the whole time now, and Mulawati is the one that's kind of just following them rather than actually pushing now. So it's a complete shift in the postures. Now she's going to go straight under a car. She just went under a vehicle. That's ridiculous. So she just ran straight under a car. That's just crazy. Unfortunately, our signal is bad, so I apologize if we have breakup. Just try stay with us. We are climbing, so the more we climb, the better it's going to be. So I'm trying to move too much. We need to kind of keep as much height as possible. Move too much. We need to kind of keep as much height as possible, so we should be good. But there you go. So Hukumuri has certainly made a statement now. He's decided this is my female, and I am going to be the one that's in charge of what goes on. Isn't this cool? But they are heading straight west now. They're just going further and further into Hukumuri and Shidulu's territory. But amazing. Now, when Shidulu had her first 2 cubs, so when she had Kara and the litter mates, when they were born right where we are right now. Just behind us is a little area of sticks, and that's where she was first found with them. This is a kind of core of her territory. This is where she's used as a den site. So for her, she wants to be with Hukumuri. She knows Hukumuri is dominant here. She doesn't want anything to do with Mulawati being in this area. Now, we're going to try and kind of keep them for a little bit. We are going to lose signal again. Welcome back to us here on Djuma, everybody. Sorry about any technical issues you might be experiencing over that side. Tristan might be in a little bit of a difficult signal area. We've sort of headed into the last area that Tristan had tracks of the Queen Tundi and her cub. I think he said something about this drainage system up ahead of us, the perfect little area for a leopard to stash her cub. It's a place that she kept Kalamba in for some time. And we're just going to have a look around here, see if there's any tracks coming in or out. Don't forget to send through any questions you might have using the hashtag WildEarth, or throw them in YouTube chat stream or Twitch. Your questions are very important. So it has been, as Rebecca said in my ear before, a morning of babies. So wouldn't a leopard cub just add to that dynamic as well? Some oxpeckers just flying off over there. There was another herd of buffalo that came into this area last night by the tracks. But we're going to keep looking for some tracks of Tundi, and we're back with us if we get them. And let's send you over to Tswalu Kalahari to see if the meerkats have woken up.
So we're still sitting at the burrows here, and we're not going anywhere. Chandra and I were just chatting about how often animals are perceived as being nocturnal or diurnal, in other words, active at night, active in the day. And honey badgers are one of those where people often think, they come out at night. It's not the case. In areas where there's very little disturbance, they'll be active in the day or at night. It makes no difference really, just depending on how hungry the animal is, what they're looking for, if they've been disturbed or not. So at Tswalu, it's not infrequent that you'll see honey badgers active in broad daylight. Why I'm so excited about this is we know there's a burrow with a badger in it, and also the fact that it's cooler today. We're in the winter months now. There's a nice breeze. It is quite cool, so that it's not impossible that this animal comes above ground while we're actually sitting here. Of course, what we don't know is what it's been doing down that burrow system. For all we know, it could have caught a squirrel or a meerkat down there, and it's just eaten itself full and now is fast asleep, and we're sitting here without a huge amount of purpose. But we don't know that, so I'd rather take the chance, bite the bullet, sit here, be patient, and hope that it actually pops out. So we're just going to carry on. We're not going to go anywhere. But like I said, our colleagues down in the Lowveld have got some good stuff. So head over to Ngala, where they've got a lioness at the moment.
And so we've just found this lioness, and we're giving her a lot of space. And like I mentioned, we were in a bit of a stare-off because this lioness doesn't seem to be relaxed completely to the vehicle. And so we're just keeping our distance to try and make sure that she relaxes, but she keeps an eye on us. And it's rather special because, it just shows that she's probably not very used to vehicles, which, is amazing, especially in this part of the world where there are so many safari operators around. There's lots of people that are conducting game drives on a daily basis. We hardly get to see lions that are slightly nervous of people, which is very, very special. And she's all by herself. We haven't seen any other lions around here yet. She was walking pretty gingerly when we first saw her, but it seems like maybe she was just lying down and it just took a little bit of time to get the blood pumping through those legs of hers. But even still, we'll keep watching her behavior, and we just want to try and keep a distance as much as we can, just so we don't give her a fright and chase her. And she's going into some quite thick areas, which will make following her quite interesting. When we're going through here, I'll just try and avoid going over the branches as much as we can, because the cracking and the extra noise might make her a little bit more nervous. We'll see. It's just a band of trees, and then it does become a clearing eventually. Can you see her there, Owen? Yeah, I can see her. She's almost at 90 degrees to us now. Shame. Yeah, so we'll try and maneuver ourselves around and hopefully get you another view. Maybe we can put the puzzle pieces together and figure out who she is and what she's doing here. But in the meantime, whilst we're trying to navigate through the forests, we'll send you across to Tswalu.
It sounds like some exciting stuff going on down there with a lion. So we still just sitting at this burrow. Like I said, we're not going anywhere for the rest of the drive. We really want to show you guys our honey badger. But it's so cool when you're sitting quietly, like I said, not moving around. There's a little herd of springbuck that have slowly been ambling their way in our direction. I don't know if they're going to get right down to us, but it'll be quite fun to see how close they actually do get to where we're sitting. We are in a very exposed position. Why I'm not worried about the honey badger is, like I say, we are upwind, so the scent can be going to him, but it's actually cutting across. So he shouldn't pick up our scent from down the burrow. And also their eyesight is very, very, very poor. They don't have good eyesight. And their hearing, although their hearing is okay, it's not good for directional hearing. Because their ears are tiny, tiny, tiny on a honey badger. Obviously to stop sand and that going in, they actually look very similar to a meerkat's ears. So we're just going to sit here, even though we're in the open. I don't think that badger will detect us. The springbuck will, though. They're very good eyes. Apologies, I didn't get the name there properly. I think it might be a Lydia, but I'm sorry for that. But your question about, are we scared of any of the animals out there? And the answer is no. Obviously, we have huge respect for the animals. Doesn't matter how small it is, doesn't matter how big it is, just respect them all. And just you respect them because you obviously don't want to disturb them. You want to understand the environment they're in. You want to observing them doing what they would do, even if you weren't there. So that's a key thing. And in terms of the threat that they pose to us, most of these things are completely harmless. But just bear in mind, anything will try to defend itself if it has to. So we really just want to kind of like blend in, just be a part of this environment with no or very little disturbance. So no, we're not scared of them. And also honey badgers have this kind of reputation for aggression, and in many ways it is correct, but in other ways it's not correct. And we can chat about that as well on another day as to why I say that. But honey badgers, they are super brave little animals and well equipped to defend themselves, but 10 to 1 they actually choose just to avoid conflict when they can. We have, and of course, genre and my staple, when we don't have other things, is we'll hone in on an armoured ground cricket. For those of you who have joined us on the ground cricket journey, this is always a fun species to see out here. But in the meantime, while we're enjoying ground cricket antics, head back to the Lowveld and see what our colleagues have got down that side.
Thanks, Dylan. Yeah, well, we do have I think it's a small breeding herd of elephants here. It's very hard to tell. They're in the thickets. Had some very fresh tracks. And I got off just to see if I could find any tracks of Thandi and her cub, because this is kind of the drainage line Tristan had tracks coming into last night. and now we are thwarted with a herd of elephants. It's very hard to do any tracking when there's a herd of elephants around. So we're going to just bumble along a bit and see if we can find anything along the way. But it is incredible how quiet a herd of elephants can be. Periodically you just hear a little bit of branch breaking. BK, can you not get these two over here? Oh, they've gone again. There's two bulls fighting in the drainage line here, but it's not easy to get them. Not serious fighting, just a little bit of pushing and shoving. So as winter draws on, the elephants switch from a diet of grass in the summer months to almost exclusively a tree diet, a form of leaves, bark, and very much roots. All of these loaded with minerals, loaded with medicinal value. You'll see an enormous amount of trees being pushed over now. Sorry, you got them, Binks? There we go. Got a little bit of elephant interaction down there. They're always doing something. So comical, these two. The one on the left has got his shoulder, well, his back to the other one, which is almost a sign of submissive behavior in elephant populations. Elephants, when they interact, you might notice it if you ever pay attention to elephants. They do. If a big bull arrives, a smaller bull immediately will turn away and look at him over his shoulder, but not face him directly. That's a direct submissive behavior. And when bulls like this play, eventually one pushes the other one a bit too hard, and you'll see the other one will do the same thing. It's a kind of like putting your hands up sort of behavior. And in the bushes they go. Sorry about my radio. Open. You don't see females playing like that. It's only boys who play. More time on their hands to be naughty. Well, that's not the best view, I'm afraid. I'm going to see if I can make a better view of this for you, everybody, but maybe going a little bit... there we go. I'm going to move forward. I don't think we're going to get them any better. That is a thicket down there. This is a drainage line, a perfect habitat for secreting away a leopard cub. Same as hiding away an entire herd of elephants. Okay, cool. Well, we're going to send you over to andBeyond Phinda, who has got an aquatic beast.
All right, so from hidden elephants, have a look at this beautiful view we have here. This is a very big watering hole here on andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. The scene you're looking at right now, there's a couple of big white birds there. Those are called African spoonbills. But if you look in between them and on that little grassy bank just further, you can see something that looks like a dead tree or a dead log sitting, lying on the ground there, and that is actually a very, very big crocodile. A big Nile crocodile. Now, with this crocodile being cold-blooded, especially now in winter while it's quite cold, he's using this morning sun to warm up. He might have been in the water during the night, which has now made him cold. So now he has to warm up in the sun. There's a lot of hippos in this water as well. Lots of different birds flying around. We're going to come back to this water in a moment, but we're going to take you across quickly to a little baby elephant.
Thanks, Clive. Yes, well, we've moved up and found a gap and found this big mama elephant with 2 youngsters. And she's actually dug a hole in the riverbank, the riverbed itself. The water table has got access to water. Elephants can smell water a meter below ground, and they dig it up far better. See, there's another youngster who's coming at the back there that was denied that water. Now he's going to come push this other youngster out the way, probably. The big mama said, no, there we go. Look at that shoulder I'm talking about. See how that youngster's turned its shoulder on him? That's submissive behavior right there. The other one came in, the other one moved away. Don't forget, everybody, if you have the inclination and the time, please visit the link below. Contribute towards the show that we're providing, bringing you wild and wonderful images from the African wilderness. We would appreciate that. The elephants are very picky drinkers. They don't like dirty water, and they're very well known to dig into riverbeds. A big problem in and around reserves is that people don't take care with how they provide water for themselves, and elephants always damage water pipes. You've got to really, really secure water pipes deep underground with rocks, otherwise they will just get dug up easily by an elephant. They can smell it. And once an elephant grabs your water pipe, well, there's nothing you can do about that. Quite incredible, though, this dry riverbed that hasn't seen water in probably a couple of months now, has still got water underneath the water table. It's hence why the grass and vegetation in and around this riverbed, is still green. And the tall trees, because although the dry riverbed is evident, there is definitely deep water underneath, and elephants know exactly how to get it. So the 3 individuals that were with Mum, or with the adults, will learn that technique. It'll take a while though, but eventually they'll be able to figure it out for themselves and to be able to access water, clean, sand-filtered water, without having to go and drink any hippo-infested pools. A couple of holes have been dug there. Normally in the inside bend of little drainage lines, rivers, is where the water accumulates. It hits the bank and is pushed back again. That little one at the back is attempting to do some digging with his foot. Not quite there yet. It takes a long time to master the art of actively digging out water. A learned behavior, no doubt. So the water will be filling into that hole, and as they drink it out, it fills up again. It's just a constant process. Well, there we go. There's a little bit of animosity being had there. Mine. You see that one on the left, how it's turned its shoulder? That's exactly what I'm talking about, everyone. And now a bigger elephant's coming. So let's see how this plays out. He's not quite sure. He's a young bull, and Mum is coming off from the left. He's like, oh, once again, the guy's turned his shoulder. That is a hands-up response, saying, I didn't do anything. Wasn't me. So you can see social dynamics in elephants very easily by paying attention to those cues. Young bulls will follow the breeding herds, and they're not always tolerated. Okay, well, we're going to stay here and see what these elephants get up to, but in the meantime, send you back over to andBeyond Phinda, who've now got some hippos.
All right, so back at this watering hole, you can see that crocodile still lying on the bank, but just further forward in the camera, there's quite a few hippos as well. Nice big pod of hippos. That's actually only one group in this big watering hole. There's quite a few more on our right-hand side as well, which we'll go to in a moment. But these hippos, with them having been walking around last night and feeding, they've probably had a pretty long night out, and they are going to be resting this morning and sleeping, which is exactly what they're doing right now. That one that's just popped its head up looks like quite, gone down, but it looked like quite a young one. Its head was still quite a lot smaller than the other ones. And often at this time of the morning, that is all you see of hippos, is just their backs while they're resting in the water. But there's so much life around even just this one watering hole. There's, as I say, the two little groups of hippos. There are geese on the bank. There are cormorants. There are those African spoonbills that I told you about just now. There are some zebra on the far side. Is that what you're on there, Marcel? Yep. Yeah, there's two zebra on that far side there. There are some herons. There are some ducks.
Just a bunch of life.
Yeah, so much life around here. There's lots of beautiful bird calls around at the moment this morning. Myself, you can go to those dead trees. There's a lot of birds sitting in these dead trees on the far left of the watering hole. There's lots of birds nesting up in those trees. But for now, we're going to take you back quickly to those elephants that are still in the riverbed, sorry.
Thanks very much. We're back with our eddies. The female and her little youngsters have moved off, and now there's 3 bulls. Here you go. That behavior is playing out right there for you. The bull at the back arrived a moment ago and pushed away the smaller one, but they're friendly. There we go. He's pushing him away too. Pushed away the smaller one, but then they turned and had a little bit of a sort of friendship handshake, and then this one that was pushed away before now came and chased the one at the back away. They've clearly got some form of dominance hierarchy between themselves. You'll see it portrayed now. Move. I want some. You see this behavior with bulls all the time. You don't really see it with females. You might see it with calves when they play with their and their cousins and their older brothers and sisters. But boys have got far much more time to play around. And always on the periphery of the herd, too cool to hang out with the adults from a certain age, but not independent enough to wander off on their own. So they slowly follow and pick up on feeding strategies, pick up on holes like this for water, and still sort of live off of the scraps, as you were, that the adult females leave behind, and to develop the social dynamics that are important to becoming a big, strong, dominant elephant bull. Like that, the techniques of pushing, weight distribution, angle of the head, the feeling of tusks pressed against your body, the ability to just stick one's bottom in the middle. Oh, they're just wonderful creatures. Oh, let me just put my legs in there. So these youngsters would know each other intimately, and when you eventually meet them again when they're in their 50s, 60s, or in their late 40s, these bulls will come together, and they haven't seen each other in a while. They'll come together and you'll see an amazing greeting that takes place. Bulls that have known each other since youngsters definitely remember each other by smell very quickly. And there's an amazing amount of affection that they portray. Bex wants to know if I think they can have best friends. I'm not sure. They definitely seem to become sort of friendly, more friendly with others. But what that often happens is you find a sort of medium-sized one befriending a much younger one that he pushes around a bit, but he's friends with him. And there's always that bigger one that comes in and disrupts the dynamic. The one who's always a little bit more pushy, a little bit more dominant. And he's not liked as much. He's tolerated, but he's kind of stands off to the side, and whenever he approaches, everybody moves away from him. But it's a really interesting dynamic to spend time with elephants and follow them around. They definitely develop an enormous amount of character. And now the two of them are going to gang up. Can I move back a touch there, BK? All you good? Go back slightly so we can see this into action. Very good. Oh, you might have heard a scream up ahead. There we go. There's the pressure. See the tusks where they get placed? The angle of the body. Oh, now they're going back. There, I'll help you push from behind. A little bit of a rub. Now you've moved again. I'm just going to roll forward slightly. Sorry, everybody, but we've got a very tight angle here. Those two at the back are definitely going to give each other, that's going to do it there, going to give each other a bit of a hard time. You can see that they're trying to joust. They're not big bulls, they're young, they're teenagers still. The two at the back, definitely older than this one. Go. Always behind the bush. See if you can hear that clash of ivory just happened there. And a bit of flatulence as well. This little youngster is still very ingrained in the herd. He's going to catch up with the rest of them shortly. He's been playing with the bigger boys. But the other two will just slowly follow behind. Very social animals, elephants. Okay, well, looks like we've lost view of them all now. Amazing how the bush can just swallow them up. About to come out now. I think it suddenly realized that we're here. It's like, ooh, who's that? Try not to run until the last second. Oops, let me get out of here. Okay, well, we're going to try and get you some better views of this herd. In the meantime, over to Tswalu Kalahari, who's got themselves another cricket.
Yeah, we're enjoying our almond ground crickets while still doing a stakeout at the burrow that the badger is in. It's unfortunately too far to see, but there's a tiny little pile of badger droppings at the entrance of the one burrow there, and an almond ground cricket was feeding on it, but it's way too far to see from here. So we thought we'd just come back to these almond ground crickets that are a little bit closer over here. And what we're seeing over the past week and a half is just a huge reduction in the numbers of these little almond ground crickets. Where that cold snap, that would have knocked them back quite a bit. And we are quite late in the season for them, just normally, even if there wasn't a cold snap. So they're becoming more and more sparse on the ground. And they are an important food source for a lot of other animals. We've seen badgers going, honey badgers going for them, lots, jackals, curry bustards, meerkats, hornbills, all sorts of things eat them. Scorpions, we've got lovely video footage and on cell phone footage quite a while back of scorpions going for them. So a lot of things eat them, and obviously as their numbers become less and less, that's one other food item that is unavailable to other species. So it's just interesting, like kind of the dynamics and how it keeps shifting. Nothing's constant out here. What is constant is Genre's dedication behind the camera. And with nature, it really, and I'll just reiterate, it just takes time. Djuma, Ngala, Pridelands, Phinda, those guides going out there, you don't just go out and like, oh, here's an elephant. It's time, it's patience, and that's a build up to that moment. Karine, if you get one of these almond ground crickets in your house, in fact, any insect that you're worried about, number one, you shouldn't use poison, because poison is it's not PC, it's just bad for the environment, and it's bad for people as well, regardless of what the can or thing might say. So it's very, very simple to deal with these, whether it's one of these or a spider or a scorpion. The easiest way is you just take a glass and you gently place the glass over the top of it, and then you take a piece of paper and you just slide that piece of paper underneath, between the surface that it's sitting on and the bottom of the glass, and then you just take the glass with the paper and you just flip it upside down, and you've got your little insect or whatever it is safely inside your glass. You can walk outside and you can release it unharmed. There's absolutely no reason to be killing these things. They are super important parts of the environment, as are spiders, and dare I say it, mosquitoes. So obviously, there's things that do drive people nuts, and I include myself in that. It's not like I like sleeping with 1 million mosquitoes around my head, but there's ways of dealing with things in a non-harmful way, if I can put it like that. And they're minding their own business. I mean, it's not like they're going out there with any ill intent towards humanity. You know, he's just looking for food, looking for mates, and he's just trying to be the best ground cricket he can be. Look, there's shame he's looking for. Okay, Steve and his ellies are getting quite boisterous. I don't know about Steve, but definitely the elephants are head over there, and we'll man the ground cricket.
Get them out in the open. Now we've got a bit of a tag team effect here on this little youngster. We've got 4 individuals of different ages here, BK. You see that, all different sizes and ages. Very boisterous here. With the ever watchful eyes of the matriarchs and the adult females nearby. Whenever you're able to view animals like this, behaving, feeding, interacting with each other, drinking, doing all these natural sort of behaviors of the species, then you know 100% that the animals are relaxed. You can continue to view them, and if you seem to be very far away, you could probably get a little bit closer, because their behavior is indicating one of complete relaxation and no negative influence from your part. If, for example, the same situation happened where you saw a herd like this and they all stopped moving, this little one's coming towards us, BK. They all stopped moving, completely froze, and all the babies suddenly vanished. You didn't see babies out in the open. You'd know for a fact that something is wrong. It might not be you. Hello, young sir. Ooh, I can smell you. You smell sour. It's like a sweet and sour composty smell. That's what elephants smell like. It's a wonderful smell. See, if they weren't relaxed, you wouldn't experience anything quite like that. They wouldn't come near you that close. Not a youngster, that's for sure. And now he's feeding. So natural feeding, you must bear in mind also that you get displacement feeding. Displacement feeding is, for example, if you are eating your food and someone sitting next to you is driving you absolutely bananas. You might be pushing your food around the plate, but you're not really eating it. Does that make sense? You're frustrated, but not eating. That's displacement feeding. Elephants do that from time to time, where they pick up a branch or they touch some leaves. They just touch it with their trunk, and they sometimes go to their mouth and drop it completely. There's a case of them not being very relaxed. No, they love doing this. This is where the calves come in. Girls at about this age will still play, but when the girls get to the age or the size of the boys we saw before, play is completely gone. Life's too serious then for them. Oh, wonderful. What a wonderful morning it's been. Leopards and lions and elephants and buffalo and ground crickets, crocodiles and hippopotamuses. It's been a wonderful morning. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves. I thoroughly have. It's been a nice overcast morning here. And we're going to be heading home for some breakfast, and hope to see you all again later for the sunset safari, coming to you from all of our wild and wonderful locations. WildEarth thanks you, and we hope to see you again later. Have a wonderful day further. Leave you with some final shots of these elephants. Until then, good day and goodbye.